What's up, y'all? Welcome back to my channel, and if you are new here, welcome. My name is Zoe and I make both bookish and lifestyle type videos, and today I'm so excited because I'm going to be talking about all of the books that I have read since March. I have not done a wrap-up video since February. That was the last one that I did, was my February wrap-up. So that means you guys really don't know what I've been reading since March. I mean, you kind of know because I've been doing some videos, but I've also read a lot of books that I haven't just talked about at all on this channel. So I thought I would play a little catch up. This video is going to be kind of condensed. I could take a really long time and talk about all of these books in depth, but I don't really want to. There is only 19 books, which definitely doesn't feel like a lot since March was like forever ago. But I honestly haven't been reading too much with the move. You guys know it's just been a really busy season of life for me. And to be quite honest, I'm just gonna go ahead and tell you that some of these books I might not remember that well. I'm gonna do my very best, but I thought this would be a fun way to kind of catch up. I really want to start doing wrap-up videos again and TBR videos and kind of get into the groove. So this is kind of my way of like getting it all out there, starting over, starting fresh. The way that I have decided to do this is that I have three different piles. I have a pile of books that I really did not like, and I have a pile of books that I kind of liked, and then I have a handful of books that I really loved. So I thought I would go ahead and jump in with the books that I did not like. Let's just start there and work our way up, and we'll end on a good note. Because I have these separated in piles, it's not necessarily like back in March I read this book. I don't really remember the time frame that I read all these books, so I'm just gonna go through the piles, talk about these books a little bit. One book that I read that I really did not enjoy was Bent Heavens. This is by Daniel Kraus, and this is a story about a girl whose father is kind of that guy known in town for like believing in aliens, and then one day he actually ended up disappearing. No one knows where he went, what happened to him, but his daughter thinks that he was abducted by aliens. His daughter also has a friend who kind of like goes out into the woods and checks on these traps that her and her dad set up for aliens. One day they actually end up finding an alien in one of the traps, and the story kind of goes from there. I was really excited about this book. I actually received it from the publisher and I was stoked to read it. I actually got my book club back in Memphis to read it with me, and I don't think any of us liked it. I will say I was not prepared for how intensely graphic some of the scenes were, and what they decide to do with the alien that they find, I was very uncomfortable with. Let's just say that. I wasn't prepared for this book. I felt like it went in a direction that I just wasn't ready for and that I didn't really love. I think I rated this like a 1 star. It was just not, it was not for me. The next book that I read that I really did not like was The Tenant. This is by Katrin Enberg, and this was a mystery thriller, kind of. I would say less of a thriller. There were some thriller aspects, more of a mystery. It took place in Copenhagen, which was kind of cool. I liked reading from a different place. I thought that was really interesting. I actually listened to the audiobook, so I thought the accents were really unique and cool to listen to. I would say it's like a police mystery thriller. I don't hate this book, but I just didn't really enjoy my time listening to it or reading it. One day in the beginning, a tenant at this apartment complex dies, and then the like landlord, the lady that oversees the complex, really gets strung along with the police in figuring out who did it. And yeah, it's just, it was fine, but like as far as some of the other mystery thrillers that I've read since then, this one is just definitely like bottom of the barrel. Like I said, I didn't hate it. I just don't usually love a lot of police or court mysteries, dramas, and that's what this was. Sometimes I do, but this one just kind of missed the mark for me. Another mystery thriller that I did not like was The Last Time I Saw You by Liv Constantine, which I was very bummed out about because I loved her first book, The Last Mrs. Parrish. I always feel like I have to say that with a disclaimer, but I read The Last Mrs. Parrish when I was just starting to get into the mystery thriller genre, and I loved it. I think if I read it now, I would be maybe not as impressed, but back then to me it was just such a fun and entertaining read. This one was very mediocre. I barely remember some of the details that happened. It's like a familial drama mystery thriller where a wife's mother is murdered in her home and then the wife starts receiving text messages from the murderer, and it kind of goes from there. It just was very like bland. Like it was, I don't know, I felt like I could have probably thought of or written this book. I mean, maybe not. I probably shouldn't say that. I'm not an author, but it just wasn't that good. It really lacked, I felt like, suspension and intrigue, and the characters, I was not invested in their stories at all. They were very like white and wealthy and well-to-do, and oh no, she's getting text messages, whatever will they do? It's just okay, so the next book that I really didn't like was The Grace Here. This is by Kim Liggett. We read this for our book club, Three Blondes in a Book, our online book club that we have. I think it was back in March when we read this, maybe April, honestly I can't remember, but this is a dystopian. A lot of people love this book. It's a dystopian that follows a group of girls who get banished from their, oh my gosh, I'm like forgetting everything about this book. It's about a group of girls, they get banished, they have to like survive in the wild. I think there's like 30 of them, they have to survive in the wild, and it's kind of like a female Lord of the Flies. Okay, I don't know, don't quote me. I'm butchering this, I promise I remember so much more about the books I actually did like. Okay, yeah, they're banished for their 16th year to release their magic into the wild so they can return purified and ready for marriage. So it's kind of that type of book. I thought this was really forgettable. I enjoy a good dystopian a lot, but I think that I'm learning more of my taste when it comes to dystopian stories, and I definitely think I enjoy like adult dystopian a little bit more than young adult. This one again just kind of missed the mark for me, so I just did not really enjoy it. Okay, now we're starting on the second pile. So these are the books that I felt kind of meh about. They weren't terrible, they weren't amazing, they were fine. The first book that I'll talk about was Small Spaces by Catherine Arden. I actually read this for a really fun video that I did with my friend Liv. I will put a little banner thingy up here if you want to check it out. Basically, she picked books for me that she thought I would absolutely love and give 5 stars, and then I read them and saw if she was right. Unfortunately for this one, she was not right. Also, side note, I am planning on doing that video again in the future with another friend, so keep your eye out for that. But like I was saying, I read this book and I thought it was fine. It's a middle grade that follows a boy and a girl who happen upon, I think, this like magical book. They end up going on a field trip with their school to this farm, and mysterious and kind of spooky things start happening at the farm. It was fine, it was fun, it was a middle grade, but I've read so many other just fantastic middle grades that this one didn't really do it for me. I will say that if you are participating in Gabby and Olivia's Summerween readathon, this one could be kind of a fun and easy read for you to pick up. It definitely has like creepy spooky vibes. It could work for the creepy cover because it's got a creepy little scarecrow guy with a cowboy hat thing. So this one could be kind of fun if you want to read it, but it was okay for me. It was okay. The next book that I have here is The Guest List by Lucy Foley, and this takes place on a remote island in Ireland, if I remember correctly, and it's very much a whodunit. It's likened to the classic, oh, I'm forgetting her name. She wrote the Orient Express. I'm literally forgetting her name. Agatha Christie. Thank you for shouting it out loud. So the story is kind of likened to that style, very much like a whodunit. Someone gets murdered and the mystery unfolds from there. What's really cool is kind of like the atmosphere of this book. They are on this remote island. A storm is rolling in. It's during a wedding when all of this happens. There's 5 different people that we're actually following along with, which I love. I love multiple characters, and I enjoyed this one. A lot of people really didn't like it. I didn't love it, but I really enjoyed my time reading it. It was also in a place where I hadn't been able to read a physical book in so long. I had just been listening to so many audiobooks, and this was the first physical book I read, I think, in like 2 or 3 months, and it just kind of got me out of that slump of wanting to physically read something. So I think this book kind of has like a special place in my heart for that reason. I would recommend it if you especially are new to the genre. I think you would find this to be really, really fun. If you're an avid mystery thriller reader, you're probably not gonna love this one, but I think it's an entertaining read. So if you're on the fence about it, I recommend it. The next book that I read was The Right Swipe by Alicia Rai, and I read this during a reading vlog. I did like a little weekend reading vlog with my friends, and I picked this up and I didn't realize it was as much of like an adult romance as it is. So that was an experience. I liked this book. I found it a little frustrating with some of the themes. I'm trying to remember, but I think that our main character, Rhiannon Hunter, she created this like dating app, but she herself is very like against dating. Like she doesn't want to date, she doesn't want to fall in love. Her heart's been broken. She's not about that life. And she runs into this pro football player, Samson Lima, that's right, and he's like, oh, he's so dreamy. They have like a night together, and then that's kind of like it, but it's a memorable night. And then they like run into each other again at some point. Basically, it's kind of like a fake dating. I think they start fake dating kind of like to get brand awareness for her brand and her dating app and all of those things. But they end up, you know, of course, well, I'm not going to tell you because spoilers, but fake dating. It was cute. It was fine. I didn't love that in this book they were like enamored with one another simply because they had slept with one another multiple times in the beginning. I'm not saying that that was what I was bothered by. What I was bothered by was the fact that their internal dialogue was telling the reader, hey, we're in love with one another because we slept together. Like they barely really didn't know each other, but they were enamored with one another. So I don't know. I just feel like for me personally, I need more than that. I need like to see why these characters really, really love each other. And I felt like that just didn't happen that well in this book. So it was okay, but it wasn't great. Okay, I literally have 20 minutes before I have to get back to work, so I need to fly through these. The next book that I read that I was meh about was Radio Silence. A lot of you love this book, and I wanted to love it as well. We read this for our book club too, and this is by Alice Oseman, by the way. I forgot to say that. And it's a story about kind of a cast of characters, mental health, being in college, coming of age. I think I'm realizing that I don't really like coming of age stories. I loved the friendships in this book. I appreciated the themes in this book. I liked what was talked about, but I think this is one of those stories that if you love it, and it like does something personal to your heart. Like it's a fine story objectively, but I think the people who really love this book are people that somehow really, really relate to the characters, and I personally just didn't. I appreciated the themes of this book. I appreciated the conversations that came out of this book, but it just didn't do the magical thing on me that it seems to do for other people. The next three that were meh are actually books that I all read for the reading rush, which was really recently, so I'm not going to go into them in great detail. But that was Tuck Everlasting by Natalie Babbitt. It's a good middle grade if you like middle grade. It's 150 pages. Pick it up if you're looking for something kind of whimsical and classic. If you haven't read it, really good. Also, the movie's awesome. And then Tokyo Terroriba Girls, Volume 4. I'm reading this manga. It's like Sex and the City meets New Girl kind of vibes. It's very funny. It has an adult cast of characters. So if you're looking for a manga that's a little bit more adult in age, this one is a good one to pick up. And then The Good Daughter by Karen Slaughter. I appreciated this book. I liked it. I enjoyed my time reading it, but it's not a very memorable mystery thriller in my mind. Like I said, I talked about this one really recently, but it follows a story of like two sisters who go through something really traumatic when they're young, and then when they're older they kind of have to come together to figure out another mystery, and then in doing so they kind of figure out their mystery of things that happened when they were kids. So it was actually a very touching story, but it was just okay. And the next book that I thought was just okay was Sheets. This is by Brenda Thumler. It's rare for me to give like graphic novels really bad ratings or really great ratings. That's why this is in that pile. I enjoyed this book. I thought it was really sweet and really cute, and again could be a fun pick for that readathon Summerween. Also, I'll link the details about that readathon below. I'm so excited about it. Basically, this tells a story about a girl who lost her mom, and they own a laundry shop, and she kind of needs to really help out in that laundry shop, but she also needs to go to school, but she also needs to grapple with the death of her mom. So she's going through a lot, and then one day she meets this little ghosty right here, and he's really cute. I liked the art style. It's all in like these really pretty kind of blues and like pastel muted colors. It was good. It was fine. I liked it. I'm glad that I read it. Okay, now we can talk about some of the books that I have loved lately, and I'm so excited. This is like honestly what I've been waiting for. One of the books that I really enjoyed from when Liv picked out 5-star predictions for me was The Winter People. This is by Jennifer McMahon, and I really like this book. It's one of those books that looking back, you realize you liked it even more now that you've sat with it for a while. I love this book. I think this is a really, really great book. A really fun, cozy, spooky read. I wish I would have waited almost to read it in like December, just like by the fire, really quiet night. It's like kind of creepy, but it's fun and it's entertaining, and I realized I didn't talk about what this is. I'm trying to remember how to describe it, but it follows a dual timeline between 1908 and then like present day. Back in 1908, there was this farmhouse where this little family lived, a mother and a father and a little girl, and one day the little girl falls down a well, and so she dies, and I'm trying not to give anything away. It follows the story then of after she falls down the well, what the mother and father, like how they grapple with it, what they end up doing next, and then how this family kind of haunts the same place in present day. That's kind of all I want to say. It's really good, and I think it's underrated, and I think more people need to read it. So yeah, really, really like this one a lot. A book that I read recently that I've been dying to talk about is Home Before Dark by Riley Sager. I loved this one. No surprise at all. I had such a blast reading this book, you guys. This is another one that I physically read. And I keep saying that because honestly, it's been really hard for me to sit down with a book recently, and I don't know why, but this was not difficult at all. I had such a fun time reading this. I'm sure you're a little tired maybe of hearing about this book, but it follows a story of a family who lived in this house and really scary things happened to them at that house. They only lived there about 2 weeks, and then afterwards the dad wrote this horror story about their time there, and it became like a bestseller. Fast forward, now we're following the daughter.
Could you try again?
That scared me. My watch scared me. Did you see that? Anyway, I was thinking about how scary this book was, and then my watch started talking to me, and I genuinely got scared. Oh my goodness. Okay, anyway, now I'm spooked out. Fast forward, we're now with the daughter who decides to go back to this house. She's like a renovator, so she's gonna go back to the house, fix it up, and sell it, but things start happening at the house. She wants to unfold the mystery of what really happened. She doesn't believe that her dad's story is real. There's a lot of paranormal vibes happening with this book. Like, it's like he took the last one that he did, Lock Every Door, and like bumped it up 7 notches. Like, just so fun, so entertaining. Pacing was amazing. Writing was amazing. I love Riley Sager. Every book he writes, I like more and more and more. I already can't wait for the next one. Another book that I read for the reading rush that I loved was Snot Girl Volume 3. I just said that graphic novels don't usually get a super low or super high rating for me, but there's something about this graphic novel that just sings to my soul. Like, the colors, the art style, the hilarity of the situation of events that take place. I just really like this graphic novel series. I'm already looking forward to volume 4. Yeah, super recommend it. It follows the story of Lottie Pearson, who is like an influencer. It really kind of takes like the whole influencer lifestyle and pokes fun at it, which I just think is so funny and fun and entertaining. So really recommend if you're looking for a fun graphic novel to pick up. I'm now going to talk about a contemporary that I read recently that I loved so much, and that was With the Fire on High. This is by Elizabeth Acevedo, and I freaking loved this book so much. This follows the story of Imani Santiago, who is a high schooler who actually has a daughter. She had a daughter, I think, when she was like in her sophomore, junior year of high school. She's back at high school. She's trying to complete high school. She lives with her grandmother and her daughter. She shares custody with another high school boy, and she loves cooking, and she's so good at it. She's so good at cooking. She ends up taking this cooking class in high school and then like going on this like cooking trip, and honestly, it's just the most like well written, well done, perfectly paced, amazing characters kind of book. Like Elizabeth Acevedo is a phenomenal writer. I guess I just said I don't really like coming of age stories, but I would say that this is kind of a coming of age story, but I really liked it. Like there's something about Elizabeth Acevedo's writing that is just so perfectly well done that it's captivating, it's entertaining, it's funny at times, it's heartbreaking at times, it's beautiful. It's like this flowery type of prose that's like just on the edge of being too much, but it's not. So it's still really tangible and like easy to understand. And have I gushed about this enough? I don't know. I listened to the audiobook of this one, really loved it, highly recommend. The way that she talks about food will make you hungry. And yeah, it's just so sweet. It's so sweet and good. And like how she has to grapple with, you know, living with her grandmother and having a child to raise, and then also being a high schooler and also wanting to pursue her dreams. Like, it's just so dang good. Really, really recommend this one. If you're looking for a good contemporary, I can't recommend this one enough. Okay guys, 3 more books. I promise we're almost there. I don't know what to talk about first. I guess we'll talk about this one first. So the next book that I read and loved was Behind Her Eyes by Sarah Pinborough. I loved this book. I loved the twist. This book is known for the twist at the end. I've always heard that it has one of just the most craziest twists you'll ever read about. And I mean, as far as twists go, it was definitely one of the craziest. It really was. I did not see it coming. Admittedly, it did take a little bit to get into this book. It wasn't like immediately I was grabbed in, but once I was in, I was like, okay, where's this going? What's happening? It kind of took me to getting to the midway point, which usually would mean I didn't actually love the book that much, but because of the end, it was one of those books that I literally finished and I was like, what? Like, what? My book club back in Memphis actually read this together as well, and it was so fun to see everyone's reactions. It was crazy. Like, this was crazy. It was such a ride. I loved it. Can't recommend it enough. If you're a mystery thriller lover, give this one a chance. It's great. I loved it. Another book that I read recently and that I loved was another mystery thriller, and that was The Party. This is by Robin Harding. It has been a minute since I read this one, but I know that I loved it. Robin Harding has a really great writing style. She does the like multiple perspectives, I just think, really well. She's also not afraid to write from a character's perspective that you're only going to hear about like from once, which I kind of like. I think that authors typically try to write from either dual perspective and, you know, go back and forth, make sure they have like even narration time. Sometimes she just throws a character in there to get their perspective one time, and I really like that. I like hearing from like, oh, that one side character one time, like what was going through their head during that scene or something like that. This follows a story of like a daughter's sweet 16 party. Something crazy goes down during the sweet 16 party that kind of sets off the book on a trajectory of drama and mystery. If you enjoyed Big Little Lies, I think you would really like this book. It's very like hard to put down. You just want to know the next dramatic thing that's going to happen, the next friendship that's going to fall out, what's going on, why is this person acting this way, what's really motivating them to do this. It was just a really like entertaining read at the time. I was getting really into mystery thrillers, and I think I read like 5 back to back, and this one really stood out. I super enjoyed it. I really want to pick up more from Robin Harding. I think I've only read this one and then Her Pretty Face, I think is what it was called. So if you have any other Robin Harding recommendations for me, let me know, because I want to pick up more from her very soon. Okay, I have 5 minutes to spare, and that is not enough time because I love this book so much and I could do an entire video on it. But another book that I have loved recently was The House in the Cerulean Sea. This is by TJ Klune, and if you watch my Reading Rush vlogs, again, you know how much I love this book. Or if you follow me on Instagram, you know how much I love this book. Also, we are talking about this book tonight, actually, the day that I'm filming this, for our book club. We read this together, and oh my goodness, I haven't heard one negative thing about this book from anyone. I don't know if it's just gaining more hype. I literally read this book for the Reading Rush, and I'm currently rereading it right now again because I wanted to just be back immersed in the story. It's that good. This follows the story of 40-year-old Linus Baker, who works in the government. He goes to various orphanages around their area to check in on the children, but the twist is that the children are all very magical and they all have magical abilities. His job is to make sure they're being treated well, that things are going okay, there's no incidents, everyone is nice and happy. He gets assigned this special mission to go to this specific orphanage on this specific island because the children that are magical there are kind of unlike any other magical children. So he goes, he has to stay there a month, and he learns a lot more about the children. They are all various creatures. One in particular is the Antichrist. And when I first heard that, I was very put off. I was like, I don't think this book is for me. Like, I don't really think so. But the author does such a good job at keeping the children's innocence very much at the forefront. Like, they are innocent children. Yes, he's the Antichrist, but he also has to take a bath every night. Like, he also has to, like, eat his peas. What I think I love the most about this book is that the message, overarchingly so, is that people are all worth being loved and respected and heard and seen, no matter what they look like, no matter their abilities, no matter what background they have, where they come from. Like, it's the heart of the person that matters, and I can get behind that message 110%. So I loved this book so much. Every single character was precious and perfect and needs to be protected at all costs. I can't recommend this enough. The hype is real, in my opinion. I just loved this book. I want to keep talking about it, but I have to go. All right, you guys. Well, those are all of the books that I have read since March. I think I actually forgot a couple in there, but I gotta go, so I guess we'll never know. I'm so glad. I feel like I caught up and I just, like, a huge weight has been lifted off of my shoulders. Thank you so much for hanging in there. If you did, I really appreciate it. If you made it this far, you should put a little flower emoji, because I love the flower emojis and I want to know that you made it this far. If you have read any of these books, let me know in the comments below which one was your favorite out of the ones I've mentioned. I would love to talk about it. Love to hear your thoughts on these books. I love you guys so much. I hope that you have an amazing rest of your day wherever you are, and I will talk to you soon in my next video. Bye!